How often do you use public transportation?
I would say at least 5 days a week, minimum.
Muni is my primary way of getting around the city since 1997, so 29 years.
So every once in a while, not very often.
And 2 or 3 times throughout the week.
How about in comparison to cars?
Um, I like public transportation better because I don't have to worry about where to park, how much parking will cost, if my car will get towed. Having a car is just a big responsibility that you kind of have to worry about all the time. So I like public transportation better, and it's also cheaper. So.
Would you say it's reliable?
I think so. Sometimes it can be unreliable, but in my experience, it's only ever happened to me 5 or 6 times, and I've been using it for 5 or 6 years.
I think the Muni is very reliable. I've only had a few times where it's been delayed, but on Apple Maps, it's very consistent at letting me know exactly when it's coming and where it's going to be.
Would you say it's changed over like the past few years?
A little bit. It's hard to say. I'm from the South Bay, and the public transit down there is really bad, but in San Francisco, it's a lot better.
What do you think about the rising CO2 emissions?
Well, CO2 emissions have always been a problem. Where does it become so far that we can't reverse the effects of it? My feeling towards rising CO2 emissions is concern.
The transportation industry is one of the leading causes of rising CO2 emissions in America, contributing over 29% of greenhouse gas emissions. Specifically, privately owned vehicles contribute 2/3 of these statistics. The typical privately owned car or truck emits 4.6 metric tons of CO2 per year, additionally leaking other toxic fumes such as methane and nitrous oxide. San Francisco is a self-described pioneer in the fight against climate change. The city of SF boasts an aggressive climate impact reduction, having reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 29% since 1990 and having cut climate pollution in half from 1990 to 2022. However, the status of environmental savership is under threat with current dangers to the public transportation system.
What is your impression of environmental justice, if you know?
My dad actually works, he's an outdoor school educator, so growing up he taught me a lot about environmental justice and, ways to keep our planet safe.
Are you aware of the impending budget cuts to public transportation?
No, I'm not aware.
No, I am not.
Public transportation in SF has undergone a great deal of hardship in recent years, with fares increasing by 14% and an upcoming 6% additional increase. In the summer of 2025, budget deficits forced the SFMT to cut service by 2%. That statistic may appear minimal, but a 2% cut of transit service still greatly impacts the daily lives of many locals. A 2% service cut means longer waits and longer walks to transit stops, leading to lower quality of life for individuals dependent on the public transit system, and increased usage of personal vehicles for those not dependent. Even a small decrease harms the community severely. Furthermore, in 2027, more potential service cuts have been proposed, with the elimination of 20 Muni routes, doubled wait times on key corridor routes, and the elimination or reduction of fare discount programs. The routes under threat serve hilly communities filled with many individuals who may not have access to other forms of transportation. These people would be forced to take long, grueling hilly walks or use expensive rideshare services just to do the same commute, which could formerly be undergone in the safety and comfort of a public train or bus. It is clear from our past, present, and future that any threat to the public transportation system is a threat to our people and our environment. If the system is not supported, neither are the most vulnerable members of our community, and neither is our world.
So definitely for every person that takes BART instead of driving, that is good for the environment and good for the climate. There's a ballot measure that's going to be on the ballot in November, where if voters across the region pass this ballot measure, then we won't have those really drastic cuts that you've been reading about. It's a really important time for public transit in our region, and nonprofit groups like Seamless Bay Area are playing, I think, a really important role because we're the ones that are often very closely connected to ordinary people and volunteers who want to do this who want to support this, and they come to us saying, how can we help support? What can we do? And we are organizing events and opportunities for those people, including many students, to do things in their own community to raise awareness about the importance of this funding measure.
We, as SF residents, cannot allow such drastic cuts to take place. These cuts will cause great difficulty to those who rely on public transit, and they will undoubtedly also lead to lower ridership, encouraging more car and truck usage, thus worsening the city's greenhouse gas emissions. In the upcoming month of November 2026, San Francisco residents will be granted the option to approve a local parcel tax. This tax will generate an additional $150 million from Muni. There will be an additional choice titled the Connect Bay Area Act for a secondary sales tax increase, which will fund an additional $1 billion for public transportation all over the Bay, including Muni, along with BART, AC Transit, and Caltrain.
It's essential that we end our reliance on fossil fuels. And if we are able to dramatically increase clean energy, then we can electrify everything, make that electric clean. It also means we have to upgrade our electric grid, which is old and needs to be really expanded. I support the mayor's parcel tax that will help us avoid service cuts for Muni and stabilize this. But we need to really change how we fund public transportation in this country and in California. They become too reliant on fares, which means that they raise fares. So BART is too expensive, Caltrain is too expensive. These systems are public benefits and they shouldn't be left to fend for themselves. That is not in anyone's interest.
Do you see a hopeful future for the Bay Area public transportation and climate justice as a whole?
I'm an optimist, but it's not guaranteed. We have to make the right choices as voters, as organizers, as public officials. We have to make the right choices to ensure that we are supporting our transit systems, making them even better, and that we are transitioning our energy system to be cleaner and more sustainable. So those are all policy and political choices, and we sometimes make the right choices, but sometimes California and the U.S. have not made the right choice, and we need to make sure that we are making the correct choices to move us in that more sustainable direction.